Hey everybody, I'm Marianne Shi Ozawa, and welcome back to another great and fun episode of the You're Doing Great Mom podcast. In this week's episode, I'm speaking to Charlotte Lomas. Charlotte came to me in my practice because she wanted pregnancy chiropractic care. She found me from the London hypnobirthing group. Her baby was breech, and she heard that chiropractic care might help align the spine and pelvis to allow for a breech baby to move into a head-down position. Charlotte, since then, has continued to get adjusted with her daughter for family wellness care. We've also become very good friends. She was eager to share her experience as a first-time mom, mostly because she's been really inspired by herself and what she's discovered about being a mother. We got together on a weeknight to record this, and we had a lot of fun together. In editing this, I was thinking, why didn't I open up a bottle of wine? It certainly would have made the conversation even more hilarious. We spoke very openly and candidly, and it's a great discussion about breech babies, breastfeeding, and the difficulties with that, partying when we were single women, discovering your feminine power, and making t-shirts. It's kind of like this unplugged version because we just jumped right into chit-chat without a formal intro. I also didn't do any editing through the entire conversation. Also, stay tuned at the end of the episode to learn more about breech babies and chiropractic adjustments and any other info concerning pregnancy chiropractic care. I hope you enjoy this episode and laugh as much as we did. Every woman, every female, whether you first know when you're 5 or you're 10 or you're 15, every woman is going to think about, am I going to be a mother? Yeah. There's always that thought. Yeah. There's that possibility. Yeah. So you either make the, like for me, I don't think I ever once veered from my desire I always knew that I was going to be a mother. Yeah. I didn't know, it was a question of not if, but when. When. And there's some women that are the total opposite of that, where they know it's a absolute no. It's not going to happen. It's not for me, for whatever reason. And I think that a lot of women, maybe not most, but a lot of women are in the middle or in between, in that gray area where they're not sure, they might, and circumstances or other factors are what drives or just guides them for whatever reason. Yeah. So I guess it's kind of like the question was motherhood always something for you in the future, and how did that come into your life? Did you know right away, and were you really, really focused on your career? No.
No. I would never ever say that I was like career minded.
Oh, really?
No, never. I just was fortunate enough to fall into a career that quite suited me, and if I look back on what I hoped I'd do for a job when I was younger, this is probably it. So it's a happy coincidence, I suppose. But for me, when becoming a mom, I mean, even saying that now, I still feel it's still hard for me to reconcile that I am a parent or that I'm a mom. So for me, I always thought it was something I'd do way in the future, because I couldn't really believe that I was like in my mid-30s.
How old are you now?
I'll be 36 this year.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was always just something, maybe in the future, And it just seemed like it's just such a massive, big deal when you think about it. For me, when I was thinking about if I was to ever get pregnant, I just thought, how can you do that? How can you decide to bring a child into the world? You know, I just couldn't get my head around it. Mm-hmm. So I remember before I found out I was pregnant, we'd been at my friend's wedding. So it was the 2nd of October 2015. And I remember having a conversation with somebody at that wedding about children, and being quite intense about not really knowing if it was something for me or if I could ever get my head around it. And I didn't want to get to a stage either where you know, for some women, like you were saying, it becomes a really big deal for them. And I didn't want it to be like that for me, because I didn't want to then focus loads of energy on it and for it not to happen. So in my head, I just hoped that if it did happen, it would just happen. So that night, I got like totally smashed because all of our friends were there from Birmingham. Loads and loads of Prosecco, loads and loads of cigarettes.
Yeah.
And in the back of my mind, I was thinking, I haven't had my period. But I'm not going to do a test before the wedding because I don't want to know. So that was the Friday. And then the Wednesday or the Thursday the following week, I took a test. And I remember like being in the toilet. It was after Sean had got home from work. And I remember thinking, oh God, well, I'm going to do it. And doing it and looking at the test and seeing the second line come up. And there's only a few moments in my life where you think, I think maybe only one really, where you think, wow, my life up until now was something and my life going forward is completely different. This is a whole new chapter. And everyone says that, and it sounds like such a cliche, but that's how it was. And I remember looking at the test and just started laughing.
Really?
Yeah, I just thought, oh my God. And I remember like saying to Sean, I was like, Sean, come in here. And he said, hold on a minute. He knew I was doing a pregnancy test, and you were like telling me...
He knew you were taking
it. Yeah, he knew I was taking it, but he was like, hold on a minute. And he came in, I was like, it's positive, and he just said, oh, well done, that's great.
Like, you...
But we were just like looking at each other, but we'd had like... It had been quite rocky between us. And we had to have a conversation, and I was like, you know, if we're going to do this, we've got to be serious about it. Which sounds like a stupid thing to say, but you see people that maybe aren't so serious about it. I don't know what there's no right way to be, I guess. But for me, finding out I was pregnant and the period between then and having Amelia was a really good time for me.
Oh yeah.
No drinking, no smoking. So I was completely sober for 9 months.
Yeah.
And I'd been going through like a period of counselling as well. So all of this opportunity to just get like real perspective.
With your husband?
No.
Oh, just for yourself.
And we're not married. Just to make
right,
sure.
Okay, yeah.
Just for me, because it was something that I thought about for a long time, and it was weird the way that sequence of events kind of unfolded. You know, deciding to go to counselling, which I thought I needed to do for a long time. Sean and I kind of deciding, right, you know, if we're going to make a go of it, we're going to make a go of it. And then finding out that I was pregnant, and then having the like clarity of not drinking or, you know, going out and just like being able to be with myself, really. So yeah, it was just a mad experience, really. And
how long were you guys together before you?
A few years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You guys were living together.
Yeah. We'd been to school together, so we'd known each other. I'd known of Sean since we were about 14 or 15. But yeah, we got together, and I think we've been living together about 3 years.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. But no one expected it. No one expected us to say that we were having a baby.
Oh, really?
No one expected it. When we told my mum pretty much straight away, but then we wanted to wait until we'd had our first scan, till we started telling the rest of our family. And we told Sean's mum and dad before Christmas, and I'd put the scan picture in an envelope and gave it to Sean's mum and dad. I was like, oh, you know, do you want to open this now? And when Sean's mum opened it, she was like, oh my God. And then I think she was so shocked. She said,
really?
I thought it was going to be theatre tickets. I thought it was going to be a trip to London. I was like, well, I hope this is something that you might look forward to a bit more. But yeah, I just think because it sounds like so right on, but I think because we lived in London, and like Sean's been away travelling loads, and, you know, we'd go on loads of holidays, or, you know, just do like London stuff, inverted commas. No one just really thought it was on the cards for us. So it was, I think that's why I felt so weird about it as well. I was listening to one of your other podcasts where you were talking to someone about when these women say, oh, they had an amazing pregnancy. And I was listening and I was thinking about it, and I don't really remember being pregnant.
Really?
Yeah, but when I think about it, it was quite a stressful time. I had to go for like regular checkups because there was an issue with my cervix. I was having to go regularly. I was having to have progesterone daily.
Yeah, I remember that. Did they discover that during the pregnancy?
So I'd had an operation on my cervix.
Okay.
So because there was likely already a weakness there, they were looking for it anyway. And when they discovered that it started shortening too early, then I was going back like every 2 weeks to get checked over.
Right, that's right. Because, yeah, so we met when you came in. You were 34 weeks?
It's probably this time last year, around, maybe a bit later, yeah.
And Amelia was breech.
Yeah.
And you got my info from the London Hypnobirthing
from Claire. From Claire. Yeah, okay, from Claire.
And, yeah, and, I remember you were saying that you had that issue with your cervix, and you had that operation a few years before, though, right?
2010.
Okay. You know, that's interesting because I don't know why I didn't put 2 and 2 together, because they say, you know, nobody really knows why a baby is breech. But they say it could be some kind of physical, structural encumbrance. And they also say that it could be from a previous surgery.
Yeah.
And then the scar tissue.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. And I had, you know, Sophia was breech.
Oh, was she? No, I didn't know that.
Oh, okay. I didn't tell you that? I thought I did.
Was she born breech?
No.
Oh, she turned.
She turned. Well, I did everything. Like, you did everything. And I ended up, she didn't turn, and I was convinced there must have been something, like the cord was wrapped around her neck or something like that. I was convinced, because I did, just like you probably did, I did so much research, you know, and at the time in 2006, you know, you could look on the internet and and so I did everything. I think I seriously, I mean, we're talking, I was practically doing front flips to try to get her to flip, literally. And
lunges,
she just wouldn't, lunges. I would go upside down. I went swimming. I practically dove in. I heard about a woman who did diving. She dove in, and that caused her baby to flip.
I was like downloading MP3s.
Yeah.
Like all these relaxing women saying, "Turn, baby, turn."
Oh yeah.
Turn.
I shone the light. I put the light there.
Okay.
You know, like right at the base, you know, by your pubic bone, and then like I put music there, I put Mozart there. I mean, I did everything because I was absolutely determined not to have a C-section. It was just not even in the picture. And and as I was getting, because my midwife discovered she was breech at 28 weeks. And she was like, "Oh, it's fine. Don't worry about it." But from that moment on, it just imprinted in my brain, and I was stressed from that point.
Same thing for me when they because I was having regular scans all the time. Yeah. And I think it was around 30 weeks, and they said, "Oh, the baby's breech." I said, "Okay." So if the baby doesn't turn, we'll just book you in for a C-section. And like, my experience always with the NHS has been really, really positive, really amazing. But because they do that job day in, day out, I guess it sometimes gets overlooked that one throwaway comment to an individual in their own experience can lead to, like you're saying, to so much stress. So they just, "We'll book you in for a C-section. We'll book you in for a C-section." I was thinking, what? No, that's not going to happen.
Right, yeah.
So, and then it did. But
yeah. Well, luckily, I think with everything that I was doing, I had acupuncture, the moxa, and I was getting adjusted all the time. And I was like, son of a bitch, you know. And yet she would move around like crazy, and so I ended up having to go for the ECV.
Yeah.
And she flipped in 30 seconds. I mean, the doctor's like, "Wow, that was probably the fastest flip turn
She must have known that you weren't going to give it up.
I don't know. And the interesting thing is, did you take that relaxing drug thing?
Yeah.
Okay, so I refused that. I was like, dude, just do what you need to do. I'm not taking any drug. I'm extreme.
I shouldn't have taken. You're right. I don't know why I took it.
Well,
to be honest.
The thing is, you don't know. Women don't know. Women are largely kind of like what Melissa said on my last one of my last podcasts. She said, we were talking about how women just don't know. You give up your
power.
Your power.
Yeah.
So I just refused to give up my power, basically. Although she was my first baby, and she flipped like that. And I'm convinced that it was from all the chiropractic that I had been doing, and the breathing exercises, and then the acupuncture. I mean, she just needed help to go around. And then 3 days later, I gave birth. It was like 5 days before my due date.
Yeah.
It was like, boom. But, so luckily, and I don't know, I wonder, because I know, I saw you every week. I did these adjustments where it was just everything and I remember even like talking to your belly,
And I did moxa, and I did acupuncture, and I did all the weird moves. The moxa was a disaster because I was like, Sean was having to do it for me.
Yeah.
I was like, don't go too close. You're burning me. Don't go too close. You need to go on this, but you need to go on that.
Yeah.
And then he blew on it on the end of the moxa to get the ash off the top.
Uh-huh.
And or I blew on it, and it flew across the living room and like burnt a massive hole in the carpet. So
I think I remember that.
So we didn't do moxa again.
Yeah, I remember when you came in the next time.
I thought, oh no. So the signs are telling me that for whatever reason, this baby's not. She's not for turning.
Did they see if she had any cord wrapped around her neck or anything like that? You don't remember?
I'm guessing when they scanned, they must have. But at the time, everything's magnified, isn't it? But there's just not the space to remember every single little detail. So I can only imagine that if they did look for that, they said no, and that bit was filed away because I didn't need to worry about it anymore.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing that I can think about, really.
Yeah.
But I'd read loads about vaginal breech births and went to see a midwife at St Thomas's she was so great. She was like a cross between Mary Poppins and Nanny McPhee.
Yeah, I remember you texted me. I was at a seminar and you texted me because I was thinking about you, and you're like, yeah, I just saw this midwife and you felt really good about it,
She was just really, spoke to us in a really practical, really honest way, and just said, there was this study done on breech births about 15 years ago, and overnight it changed the way breech births were perceived. And later on, when the study was reviewed or they looked into it more, some of the results called into question the integrity of the study and the fact that a lot of problems that had been attributed to breech births were actually incorrect. So she was saying to me, when she was a midwife for 30 years, people would come in, we'd be like, oh, it's feet first, never mind, off you go. We'd just get on with it. It wasn't an issue. But she said you have to be prepared for the fact that either way, it might not go how you want it to. So you need to be prepared for the fact that you may need to have a C-section, and you kind of need to make your peace with that. And then, less than 24 hours later, my waters broke. And I remember saying to her, how will I know when my waters break? And she said, wow, it's really hot. So I got up. This was the Friday. Sean's sister and husband came down. Sean went out till 2 a.m, and I got up at 5 and went to the toilet, and this massive hot gush down my leg. I just thought, oh no, this isn't happening. No, this isn't happening. I can't have a baby. This has got to come out some way. And going to the hospital, and the doctor there they were just looking at me as if to say, you know what, you can't do this. You can't have a breech baby vaginally. It's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. And then you start thinking, I remember being on the hypnobirthing course, and in the booklet it was talking about the sort of language that they use and how you get called a patient when there's nothing wrong with you. And I remember being in the hospital in a theatre gown with a drip, with surgical stockings on, thinking, I'm not ill. What is going on? But yeah, it was, there comes a point where you think, what am I doing what's best for me, or am I doing what's best for me and the baby and Sean? You know, you've got to weigh that up, I think.
Yeah.
And the anaesthetist that we had was amazing, and she just made all the difference. She just came in and said, look, I know you're nervous, I know this is not what you wanted, but let's just do it. And she even said to me, which was maybe a bit of a risk on her part, I said, look, I know you know what the risks are with spinal blocks and all that sort of stuff. I'm not going to talk to you about it because I know you know what they are. And just that little bit made me feel like she was like respecting me as a you know, a human being, as a woman, rather than just speaking to me as just another number or another patient. I remember like holding her hand in the theatre, just like gabbling away because she'd given me all this laughing gas. I was like, did you strike? Did you go on strike? I support junior doctors. What I was talking about, really. And then I was just so happy that I'd got a catheter as well. I was thinking, I don't want a catheter, and then they put one in. I thought, this is brilliant. I've got to get us to go to the toilet. So, you know, you've got to take your you've got to take the small wins where you can get them. And then obviously we got Amelia at the end of it, and she was, you know, she was perfect.
Yeah, you did great. You did really great. And you know, you had a really open mind. you know, you were, it's so normal to have that stress in the final few weeks of for any woman, for any pregnancy, and with everything that's thrown at you with you know, this could happen and that can happen and there's this risk and that risk, and it's you have to, it's so good that you had Holly with the hypnobirthing. And I think that makes a huge difference, you know? Yeah,
it was. I mean, we couldn't go to the like 3 sessions where Sean would have come as well. So I just did the women's only workshop. And I went in there thinking I'd never want a home birth. And I walked out thinking, I want a home birth. I want a home birth. You know, it's like a party, but someone comes along and cleans up after you and then leaves, and you know, you're at home with your baby. I just thought, that sounds amazing. But yeah, it just didn't, because she was breech, she just wasn't going to work out that way anyway. But there was it was really, just felt really empowered at the end of it. There's always a little voice in the back of my head that says, but you sound like such a hippie, you know, talking about vaginas and women and, you know, feminine power.
Right.
But it just gets overlooked so much.
Yeah.
It just totally, because, you know, everyone who walks the earth is a product of a birth. So the power of it can sometimes just be diminished, but it's an amazing thing to do.
Yeah.
But the whole language thing as well is really interesting, because I really struggled with when people talk about, inverted commas, natural births, because I felt like if someone was saying it to me, that somehow implied that the birth of my child was unnatural. Does that make sense? And I was speaking to a woman at work, a really lovely woman, really get on with her, and she said, oh, if you have another one, will you try and have it normally? And just, you know, she didn't mean anything by it, but, and I'm maybe quite sensitive, but I just thought, my baby was born normally. Yeah. She just wasn't born, you know, in, like, she didn't come out of my vagina.
Yeah.
But no one wants to say vagina.
I know. No one wants to say vagina. I mean, it's such a big...
No one wants to say
the deal?
When we went to some of the antenatal classes, it was a male midwife.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And it was good, really, because he was saying, you know, you'll hear a lot of talk about down there, or do you mind if I just have a look, or let's see how you're getting on. It's like, people don't want to say vagina.
Really?
Yeah, and you could see, like, people kind of, like, shifting a little bit. But then he started talking about perineal massage, and everyone started sniggering. Everyone. I just thought, oh, my God, everyone in this room is, has had sex. You know, whether or not your baby has been conceived as a result of, you know, a spontaneous conception. You know, we've all done it, so why are we all sat here sniggering? And because a man said vagina, it's just like...
I'd have to, like, that's another topic, because it probably stems from I don't know, like the 1940s or 50s, or just what happened to sexual repression, or just what happened to, what is so bad about using the word vagina?
I didn't even know it was called a vagina till I was about 14 years old.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't know what it was called. I thought it was called a tuppence. How embarrassing is that?
Wait, so it's called a what?
A tuppence. It's like a British word for, like, old money was like 2p.
Right. Okay, got it.
It's like a slang term.
It's so funny.
That's pathetic, right?
It's it's really fascinating to hear you say this, because there is this school that this in New York that was created by this woman called the School of Mama Gina's School of Womanly Arts, and I have her book. I should give it to you. And she is been doing this since like I think the late 90s, or just around year 2000, where she created this school for women. And one of her biggest things that she's teaching is that it's kind of along the lines with the vagina monologues, and how in, at least in the Western culture, and probably through, it's probably like this through all cultures, but it's just the word, I mean, for men, it's very, there's not, people feel more comfortable saying penis, than, like, if you're going to use the right terminology.
Yeah.
I think people are more, there's not as much attached to the word penis. It's definitely not as pejorative as vagina, or, and when the Regina, Mama Gina, the woman who teaches these seminars, she's a genius. I mean, she's brilliant, because she uses in her courses for all women, and now her courses are 500, 600 strong. I mean, she's in a...
Have you done one?
Yeah. I did it when she first started, and it's fantastic. And one of who I am today, and how I am with my body, the way I relate to men and girls and my daughters, and what I'm teaching them, really comes from what I learned from Mama Gina's School of Womanly Arts, because she teaches so much about how women are one of the greatest untapped resources of the world, and it's just kind of like what you were saying, that you felt so empowered in just being pregnant, becoming a mother, and that has given you the access to just the discovery of your feminine power, your femininity and your power, and that's just, it's amazing. And so she uses the word pussy in her courses, and in the beginning you're just kind of like, it's a little bit of this jolt, shock, because one of the biggest topics that she focuses on in the first one of the first days is the terminology. And what did you guys call your vagina, your pussy, your vulva, and women would be raising their hand, and they would say, oh, my cookie, or my coochie, or my vajayjay, or and there's so many words, and so here you're sitting there saying my tuppence.
Yeah, it's not cool, man. It's not cool. I try and, like, when I'm like changing Amelia's nappy, and I say to Sean, I was like, he called it a fairy. I was like, don't, it's a vagina. I was just thinking, again, I just have that little voice in the back of my head, like, saying, you think you are so right on. But I want her to, like, coming to see you, accessing chiropractic, and I want her to understand her body. I want her to feel that she's connected to every part of her body. And as ridiculous as it sounds, I think you can feel removed from it. And when I think about giving birth to Amelia, sometimes I feel like I'm so removed from that experience, because I didn't give birth to her vaginally because I don't feel like, you know, I really experienced it. I didn't have any, you know, contractions or surges, or, you know, I didn't have any of that. When I look back on it, it was, at the time it didn't feel like it, but when I look back now, I think it was actually like a piece of piss. It's only sometimes if I try and remember it, what was I thinking about the other day when we first brought Amelia home, and I would just be lying on the sofa with her in the middle of the night, just being like in a complete daze. And then obviously, you know, the whole breastfeeding lark as well. Just, yeah, it's an insane time really, but you do come to have a greater respect, I think, for what you're capable of, like the amount of sleep you can survive on, and still try. I mean, I can't remember most things, or sometimes I think, I really can't be bothered to do that, or I'm just going to eat chocolate, or look at the can of like cold pale ale in the fridge and think, what time can I have that? But
well, it's just, you know, it's our mother's love to the strength that you that really has, it's really the strength that's already in there, and then you become stronger throughout the whole process and the whole experience, you know, and I mean literally every day, every for some women it's every hour, you know, pulling the strength, getting through the day, you know, that's I think there's no stronger force than that mother's strength.
It gets totally overlooked though. It gets taken for granted.
Oh yeah, and it's not talked about, you know,
because you're so. I mean, every woman's experience is different, but you know, and I know again, there's a lot of cliches attached, isn't there, to pregnancy and becoming a mother, but you know, nothing can prepare you for those first few weeks, or the first night at home with your new baby. I mean, we were quite lucky because my mum had been with me in the hospital on the Saturday and Sunday when I'd stayed in, so Sean would be there in the daytime, and then my mum came and stayed on the Saturday and Sunday that I was in, and then Sean's mum was already coming down on the Monday because I was supposed to have the EVC. I was supposed to have another one on the Monday, so she'd already booked to come down. So the night that we went home, Sean's mum was with us, but I mean, if she hadn't have been there, I have no idea really what we would have done, because Sean was just losing his shit really badly because Amelia wouldn't breastfeed. We didn't have any formula. We had a breast pump, an electric breast pump, but there was a bit missing from it. So Sean was on Skype to his sister screaming, "Where's this bit? Where's this part?" To his mum, you had kids, you've got 2 grandkids, why don't you know how to do this? Why don't you know? While I'm just in the bedroom, like crying,
oh god,
with like massive page 3 boobs, trying to get Amelia to feed, just thinking
page 3 boobs.
And then Sean with like a manual breast pump, like this. Come on, you can get it out. Just having like no clue what on earth we were doing. And I remember Sean put a lamp in the corner because we needed to have a light on, I don't know why, but he was like trying to arrange stuff around it so it wasn't really bright, so we could go to sleep, but we could see the baby. And then the baby woke up and the baby needed a nappy change, and I didn't put the changing mat down, and then there was shit all over the sheets and all over me, and I was thinking, and then I was like, I've got like everyone saying, you've had major surgery.
Yeah.
I just remember taking Amelia into Sean's mum and just going, I don't know what to do. Yeah. And Sean had been out to get formula so that we could feed her. And in the midst of all that was when I emailed Imogen, the lactation consultant, just being like, please can you come and see us? And she came out the next day. So, yeah, I mean, it's not hard to give advice, but if you've not had a baby before, it's hard to be in a space to receive it because you've got nothing to relate it to, that advice. Because you haven't been through that before. So then when you've had a baby and your hormones are all over the place and you don't know what you're doing, it's hard, it's really hard. My advice to people is especially if you want to breastfeed, is find out what support you can get. Your milk spots, your breastfeeding cafes, like lactation consultants. I mean, living in London makes it so much easier to do all of those things.
Yeah.
Like Sean's sister's about to have her third baby, and we were talking about breastfeeding, and I was looking for lactation consultants in Birmingham. It's like none.
Really?
Like they show you a map on their website, and they've got like the drop pins. Like there's like a few scattered around Birmingham, and then you go to London, and it's like
everywhere.
You can't see. Yeah. You can't see London for lactation consultants. Yeah.
Wow, it's so true. Like it is that the first few hours into the first couple days, it really is this mad rush of what the hell am I doing, and hormones and bless the men. It's gotta be I don't know. It's really got to be, because we mentioned this. I mentioned this with Melissa in the other podcast. Like they have no clue. And it's got to be so frustrating for them. And you just wonder. It's really such a wonder how we don't know what to do with this tiny little brand new human being, right? You just don't. Nobody tells you that.
Well, they can tell you that, but it doesn't. Like I said, because you can say, right, be prepared. It's going to be a wild time, but you have no idea.
Yeah.
No idea. And I remember when Sean came to the hospital on the Monday, and I was like, look, I've got to get out of here today. I've got to get out. All I've heard for the last 48 hours is Big Ben chiming every 15 minutes. Which I know sounds like glorious and amazing, but it's really not. I was hallucinating.
Every 15 minutes.
Big Ben chimes every 15 minutes. So on the hour, it's chimes for whatever time it is. So 1 o'clock, 1 chime. 12 o'clock, 12 chimes. 1:15, 1:30 and 1:45, there are chimes.
Like
so every 15 minutes.
Counting.
No, just like dun, 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 dun.
Oh.
That's it.
Really?
But yeah, so you get the chimes.
I had no idea.
Yeah. So, because St Thomas's is so close as well.
Oh my God.
So, it's just, and then you've got that, it's like 1,000,000 degrees. You've got women, their birthing partners, companions, babies, nurses, machines,
It's madness.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I say to Sean, I've got to get out of here. He's like, no, you've got to stay in for longer. I was like,
Who said that?
Sean, he's like, no, you've got to stay in. You've got to stay in. You can't come home yet. You can't come home. Because he's just like, the baby's not feeding. You can't, you're not well enough to come home. You've got to stay here. So I am getting out of this hospital. So I managed to get out of the hospital about 7 o'clock. Like, we put Amelia in the car seat. I mean, it was like putting a bean in a canoe. Yeah. I was thinking... Then we didn't know how to put the car seat in the taxi, so we couldn't figure out the seat belts. Again, Sean was screaming. Rather than just saying, I'm worried, he just was like, rah! Yeah. So the taxi driver drove about 10 miles an hour the whole way home. And then when we got out the taxi driver said, make sure you keep her warm. I was like, okay, thanks. And then somehow and then she wouldn't breastfeed yet. And then somehow it's like 6 weeks later and you are feeling a bit more like, okay, not that you know what you're doing, because the next day things will change and you'll think, I have no clue what I'm doing. But I was lucky because I had one of my really, really good friends. She had a baby like 6 days before me. So we were just, we've just been in like constant contact the whole time our babies have been growing up. So I would just like FaceTime her and be like...
Oh, she's in Birmingham?
No, she's in London. So we would speak on FaceTime and we would meet up.
Oh, that's cool.
But yeah, with my friends in Birmingham, like they were brilliant. But because they were far away, for a bit I couldn't speak to them. Yeah. Because I didn't really know what to say. Mm-hmm. And they were all like desperate to speak to me. Mm-hmm. And I just thought, I'm just going to cry. I don't know what to say. And then you think, and then I felt stupid because I thought a lot of my friends have got babies, so they know how it feels. Mm-hmm. And then I was thinking, why do I feel that my experience is, you know, not more special, but like I have to keep it to myself almost. But that's another thing that comes with being a mum, isn't it? You just feel guilty about everything. Another one of my friends, Natalie, she was just like, look, just get prepared to feel shit about loads of things.
Just get prepared. That's so funny. It's so true. It's just, you're right. I mean, you can be told to be prepared for this and for that, but you just don't know until you experience it, you know? I mean, like...
Does it get easier when you have, like, your second and your third?
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. And I think that the more... well, I can only speak for myself, and I can't... I guess I'd have to... I'm not really sure, actually, if other women... You know, because every child, every baby, every pregnancy is different.
Yeah.
Every birth is different.
Yeah.
And sure, you know, logically you think, oh, you know, it's got to be easier because, you know, you've done it before. But, like, you know, my sister's pregnant right now. And, you know, her experience is totally different. And her feeling of it is totally different. And I genuinely believe that your pregnancy and the labor and birth all ties into your core beliefs and values, your self-esteem, your self-worth, your desires in life. I think it's all encompassing. And you know, it really depends on like what's going on in your life at that time as well, including all the shit in your past. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And your fears. I mean, that's a huge thing with hypnobirthing, and you learn about your fears, and that fear drives a certain level of just closing up and
like your fight or flight.
Yeah. So, you know, it's all different for everybody, but for me, it was definitely easier. But
what I can't get my head around is like when you have your first one, no one's expecting you to go back to any sort of normality.
Yeah.
But when you've already got a baby, so you had Sophia and then you have Max,
yeah,
and you come home from hospital with Max, but then you've still got Sophia to look after, so you've still got to be like you were before you had a baby, while still looking after a baby and dealing with all the crazy hormones and the fact that you've now got 2 kids. I just...
Yeah. It's you know, it's all in the moment, you know, like let's say you get pregnant again soon, you know, because she's going to be a year soon, in
May the 21st.
Yeah, so, oh my gosh, that's like...
I know.
Wow. Goes by so fast. You know, it's... During that pregnancy, you know, there's you'll have your familiarity in being pregnant. You'll have your preparation, your mental preparation, your physical. So it's all about what's in the moment and what's going on. And I think that with pregnancy, for every woman, there is such a journey, a new journey, a new discovery. And so with every pregnancy, whether it's your first or your second or your third or, you know, your 6th, you're stepping into a new stage, a new phase of your life.
Because you've already had, I guess, you've already got the wisdom of those earlier pregnancies. So, yeah, you'll bring that into the pregnancy that you're having now. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't. When I think about what I was like...
Yeah.
When Amelia was first born, I mean, I didn't like really wear a top for like 2 weeks or 3 weeks.
I remember that.
Because Imogen was like, you could get skin to skin, so just doing skin to skin all the time. But I think back to like when she had her tongue tie cut, and she was 3 weeks old then, and I remember we went to the South Bank, and then I remember thinking, but it was only been 3 weeks since I'd had, you know, the C-section, but I must have been like trying to get up and around and doing stuff. But I don't remember how I went from being, you know, not being able to like walk about to then being, you know, up and about. Again, it's amazing what your body just does, because you know, you have to do it really. And
You seemed really strong, actually. I saw you a week after, I think. And
Amelia was born on the Saturday and you came on the Friday.
Right, yeah. And you seemed really, really strong, actually.
I felt in a complete daze.
Yeah. Yeah, you were. You were in a daze, but still, I thought you were doing great. I thought you were, yeah. There was nothing, I wasn't worried or anything like that, and you seemed really strong, and you seemed, you were recovering well, and so.
It was just the whole, because I'd made a choice to breastfeed, that's what I wanted to do, and it just didn't happen straight away. I just felt so broken by it. The C-section really was a doddle in comparison to having this idea about how I was going to feed my child, and it just not going the way that it was, I'd had planned in my head. I mean, that was so stressful. I've forgotten about how stressful it was because, we did it and we are still doing it. But yeah, I mean, that almost broke me, I think. I remember just crying and crying and crying all the time because it just wasn't happening. And then when it finally did start to happen, and the first time I breastfed her for 24 hours, again, I'd had this idea in my head that when I breastfed her, it would be like, really dreamy and it would be perfect. And the reality was, I was like, thought, I'm going to die from tiredness. But again, you get through it.
Yeah.
You get through it. I remember speaking to my mum when I breastfed her for 24 hours and just crying, saying, I don't think I can do it.
Yeah. What do you mean 24 hours? Like basically...
So rather than breastfeeding and then giving her a bottle, just... Because when Imogen came, she told us, keep a record of when she feeds, how much she feeds, if it's express breast milk, if it's formula, when she goes to the toilet. So we've got a book and there's pages and pages and pages, and there's loads of people's different handwriting in there because they were also instructed to make sure that they were writing down when they were giving us stuff. And there's like when she's done a poo, there's like a smiley face next to it, or and then it starts to drop off as she starts to breastfeed more, and then that's it. I think it was around, she was born on the 21st of May, so it was around the 24th, 25th of June that I stopped writing in it. So there's this like a tangible record for her first 4 weeks of her life, how much she ate every single day, how often she went to the toilet every single day.
Oh my gosh.
So when we stopped writing in that book, it was a really big deal. But again, I'd forgotten about that until I'm talking about it now, because like I said, there's not space for you to carry around all of that stuff, because it's such an intense experience. You have like a lifetime of memories in such a compressed, every single moment is precious, isn't it? Again, it's a real cliche, but you just have to keep telling yourself. And again, a friend of mine, she's just had a baby and she's having a really tough time to breastfeed. I was like, look, I never thought I'd be able to say we did it and it's easy, but it is. You've just got to keep going. But also, if you feel like it's too stressful for you to keep going, you've just got to do whatever is right for you and your family.
Yeah, totally, absolutely.
I think I just feel sad for women. How can I say this? I read about, is it Dr. Amy Brown? She does a lot of breastfeeding stuff, doesn't she? Obviously, she makes the point all the time that a lot of the women that she's referring to, is it like the 80% that give up when they don't want to, not the women that are informed and make a choice to say, right, for whatever reason I've chosen not to breastfeed my child. That's cool. I just get upset when women want to breastfeed their child but they don't have the right support, or they don't have the right sort of knowledge about it. Yeah. And again, when you're talking about feeling empowered as a woman, it's, I know I sound like a hippie, but it's such an amazing thing to be able to do. And when you read about, the different stages of the breast milk and what it does, and it's tailor-made for your baby, and how the, what's the word? how the makeup of the breast milk changes if it's a hot day or if your baby's ill. It's just, it's just so unreal,
incredible.
man.
Yeah, it's so incredible.
And I just thought, because I didn't have a vaginal birth as well, I thought, I've got to do it. And we kept going. And you know what, like I was saying, I'm not particularly ambitious in my career. I don't really stick at anything. But for some reason, and somehow, I did with that. Even when we got a thrush, which is the worst pain ever. Like someone is cheese grating your nipples and like throwing vinegar on it, and then you've got to have a baby go onto them.
You had that for a while.
Like probably at least 6 weeks, I would say. At least 6 weeks.
Oh, man.
You can't let the shower go on your nipples, or you can't put a towel on them. It's just...
Yeah.
It was hideous.
Oh, man. I remember that. Wow. Yeah, that's tough because you're constantly infecting one another. And
but when I look back on the fact that, Amelia she had formula, she was bottle fed, and now I'm able to rationalise it a little bit more, I think it was probably the right thing, because it meant that I had space to recover, and the pressure, as I saw it, wasn't all on me in those early stages. Sean would get up and feed her in the night. My mum was there, she would feed her, or if Sean's mum was there, she would feed her. So I was able to recover enough to get to a point where I could then be a bit more sensible about it. Because at the beginning, you've got to feed your baby.
Yeah.
And it takes, I admire women who face the same sort of challenges and they decide, no, I'm just going to breastfeed. Because that's hard work, man.
Yeah, it is hard work.
That is really, really hard work. I mean, a friend of mine, she's got 2 sons. She breastfed her first son, Noah. Then her second son, they found out that he had a really serious heart condition at the 20-week scan. And they said when he was born, he'd need, big surgery. So if she'd have been a first-time mom and someone had said what they said to her, they basically said to her, you won't be able to breastfeed this baby. We're going to have to bottle feed him because, whatever's going on, he won't be able to breastfeed. And she was like, no way, I'm going to breastfeed my child. And she did, and he breastfed. Now, if that had been a new mom who didn't know what her body could do, she would have felt like she was being forced to make a choice that she didn't want to make, and then have to, to live with that. So,
that's incredible. It's breastfeeding is. I just think that there's not as much attention on it. I think
it's just too much of a political subject now. I think I was reading about, there was an article, wasn't there, about babies crying, and apparently in Denmark babies don't cry, and they were saying, or they do cry, but they just don't get stressed about it. And I don't know if it was a Danish doctor or some Danish academic was basically saying she believes it's as a result of the fact that breastfeeding there, it's not a big deal because people just do it. It's not talked about because no one has to talk about it because everyone just does it.
Yeah.
You don't get things on the Daily Mail about Facebook posts where people have said, I saw a woman drinking a glass of wine while she was breastfeeding their baby. It's like, so what?
Yeah, I know.
Do you know, it's not necessarily about the milk going into the alcohol going into the milk. It's about the person getting so drunk that they can't feed their baby, which is the same as if they're bottle feeding. So just, you know what I mean?
It's just, it really is so political, and there's so much judgment around it, but it's like it's like the breastfeeding culture, just like, there's a topic for everything out there, and it's just breastfeeding is just such a culture of judgment and
like pitting, it's like us against them.
Yeah, and it's just,
it shouldn't be. It's a really like emotive subject, but I want women to, know what their bodies are capable of, and for it to be a choice. For them to make a choice about how they feed their child, not to feel pressured one way or the other to do what they feel's right for them. That's what I think. That's ideally what we should be striving for. That's what women want to do about everything. You know, if women are going to buy a new car, or they're going to buy some new shoes, or they're going to get some new jewellery, or they're going to buy anything, I do research about it. But for some people, it's just like, I'm not even going to think about breastfeeding. I'm just going to go straight to bottle feeding because, you know, that's what's done. And I just think I don't want to sound like I'm being judgmental, because I know how hard it is. You've got to do what is best for you and your family. I totally respect that, and we all should be supportive of each other. It's just about saying, you know, if you want to do it, you can.
Yeah.
And there's the support there for you to be able to do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, what matters is doing what, you know, what you can to survive, really.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I think that women who think that breastfeeding is not for them, you know, it is hard to go into that, you know. Like, I remember meeting somebody when I think I was we were both pregnant. It was one of those things where, you know, when you're pregnant with your first child, you try to meet other pregnant women, you know, where their babies your baby's going to be born around the same time. And she just was like, I don't remember how we got into the topic, but she was like, well, yeah. And also her attitude about it was just sort of like, and at the time when I was pregnant with Sophia, I didn't know how important and how amazing breast milk was. I mean, I knew it was what I wanted to do. It was the best thing to do for me. And it is the best thing for the baby. You know, there was no question about that. But I really didn't know half of the information. And so at that level, yeah, I was ignorant, you know, just as any first time mother, really. And this woman was just like, yeah, my mother didn't breastfeed me, and, you know, my aunt didn't breastfeed her children, and they couldn't really, and so I just don't think I'm going to be able to do it, so I'm not going to do it. So even before she had this baby, because it was like this predisposed or this preconceived sort of notion of I'm incapable, or for whatever reason she chose or she made that decision, I'm not going to be able to breastfeed, so I don't want to breastfeed. You know, like that kind of formed her desire to not breastfeed. And as soon as, you know, when she had the baby, it was just straight to formula. It was just, that was in her mind. And yeah, I remember that very, very well, still 11 years later now. And there are women that are still like that, you know, and it's just, I think it is sad, because knowing how important it is for babies to be breastfed for so many reasons, you know, for nutrition, you know, that's the most obvious thing, for the immunity, the immune effects, the benefits of the immune system, and then it's just unbelievable how it caters,
and it's so
to
much
the baby,
so much cheaper and so much less.
I know,
less
logically,
around.
I hear that. I mean, I actually didn't know this, but formula is like 35 or I don't know, 25 to 35 pounds per.
I don't know. We just bought the little bottles of it.
Oh, right.
We just bought the little bottles of it. So,
but I hear it's incredibly expensive.
It is expensive, and also, you know, if you have to buy like stuff to do with anti-reflux or colic or blah blah blah, but I just think, yeah, there's something else that I've seen. It's like, you know, it's not about pitting women against each other about breastfeeding and bottle feeding. It's a public health issue versus formula companies, you know. But it's just, yeah, I just don't understand how it's become such an issue. Or
do you think that, I mean, I don't know about it in this country, and, you know, I had Anna, my third, in France, but throughout my pregnancies, whether, in New York, in America, and in France, I don't know how it is here, but do you think that the education on breastfeeding during pregnancy is just not available?
I think that you can go to... I went to Imogen's workshop. And I think you can go to... I think you should go to... If you want to breastfeed, go to workshops, do your reading.
Yeah.
But nothing... It doesn't matter how much practical advice you get, because, again, until that baby comes, then you can practice with the doll and the nice, knitted nipple and all the rest of it, and be like, oh, yeah, I've got this down, and all the rest of it. Because until you throw into the mix a baby, rock hard boobs, your hormones... all those emotions that you're feeling, the stress that you feel about having to get food into your baby, you can't, it just...
Yeah.
I think it's just about, about us all being easier on each other and just saying, no, it's your choice, but make an informed choice about it. I mean, I read a really brilliant book by, what's her name? Emma Pickett, a lactation consultant, called You've Got It In You. And it's just really, really interesting, really easy to read, totally non-judgmental, just stating the facts about, the challenges that you might come up against. Just really, really useful. Just really, really useful. And also finding out, like I said, about like your milk spots and all that sort of stuff. Because I went to them a couple of times, and a midwife there spotted that Amelia had got a tongue tie. And she referred us to St Thomas's, and we got an appointment within 3 weeks, and we went, and Amelia had been breastfeeding a little bit, and when we got there, I said that she'd been breastfeeding, and the guy that was going to do the procedure said, well, do you really want to go ahead with it? And I wavered, and Sean said, yeah, we want to go ahead with it. And then a midwife came in, and they swaddled Amelia, and she looked really, really happy, and the midwife looked in her mouth and just went, yeah, she's got one, let's do it. Like, shooed me out the room, ready to go to breastfeed her. And then they did it, and they brought her in. And there were some people there that it had taken weeks of waiting to get a referral. And my friend who lives in Glasgow, her baby's got tongue tie. There's one person in Glasgow, apparently, that snips.
Does the procedure.
Yeah, that has 40 referrals a week. So if, we're trying to make it easier for women who choose to breastfeed, but then you can't get your baby checked for tongue tie straight away. Lots of people don't even know about tongue tie.
Yeah.
Like, all my friends that have had babies, I'm like, if you want to breastfeed, get the baby checked for tongue tie.
Yeah.
I've
only just gone to recently a seminar to detect, to properly detect tongue tie. So, tongue tie is a huge...
It's so common.
Yeah, it's just such a big, it's a big misunderstood, misdiagnosed, and the whole thing is actually, there's a whole bunch of information about it, and also, like, opinions, just, is it really... is it really tongue tie? Is it really necessary to clip it, and all that?
Well, I know from my experience that when they did Amelia's tongue tie, so yeah, they swaddled her. She looks really happy, really peaceful. I was thinking, oh no, what am I going to do to my baby? So out you go. Sean stayed with her. They brought her straight into me, and she went straight on, and I vividly remember the difference in the sensation. Vividly remember it. Yeah. And just feeling so happy that there was something so tangible that could make such a difference.
Yeah.
It wasn't... We were still giving her bottles in between from then. But, yeah, it made all the difference. It really just made all the difference.
Yeah. In fact, I went to that seminar after Amelia was diagnosed. I just didn't know how to pick it up. And I feel like if I did know, you know, it would have been really good if I could have picked it up, but...
Oh, it was what it was, and...
Yeah.
We were fortunate that we live in a city where there are a lot of resources like that, you know. Yeah. A lot of resources, you know, like my friend in Glasgow, she was saying they really had to push, really had to fight for it.
Yeah.
And again, she was saying, I'm not sure whether we should go ahead with it. I was like, look, I know it's awful thinking about your baby potentially being in pain, but it's over so quickly, so quickly. You've got to be positive. You've got to think about the bigger picture. Which again, I know it's really hard when you're in that brand new cocoon of parenthood.
Yeah.
And again, trying to get your head around the fact that you're looking after this tiny little bag of bones. You don't, you know, and it's only when you see a newborn again that you realise just how small your baby was when you first took it home.
I know, it's amazing.
I saw my friend's baby. I just started crying when I saw her because she was just so small. I'm like picking her up, and you know, you forget all the little noises.
Yeah.
It's like, oh. And there's Amelia, like a big lump on the floor, gabbling away. I'm like, how did you go from being that to this? How's that happened?
Yeah.
How, you know, I feel a lot of it's not as bad, but a lot of the time I just felt like crying. Because I felt like I should have kept some sort of journal. So, you know, like if I was having a bad day, I could look back and see, okay, well, there was a day like this that time, and, you know, it just got better, or this is how you got through it, or that's what you did. That's another thing that I would recommend if, you know, if women have got the time to do it or the inclination, is to just make a little note every day. Because, like I said, if you're having a bad day, you can look back and think, yeah, we got through. We've had these days before, and we got through them.
That's a really good idea. Yeah.
I wish I'd have done that.
Yeah. You could do it for your next one. So you were a party animal before
wow, just...
I think we all were. And it sounds similar because the day before I found out I was pregnant with Sophia, I got totally smashed on Sauterne, the French. It's a French, very sweet white wine.
Oh, gosh.
And like high alcohol content, and just smashed. And I just, oh my god, when I found out that next day, I think it was the next day or 2 days later, I was like, oh my gosh, what have I done?
Yeah.
It's incredible because, you know, so many women just never knew for a certain amount of weeks that they were pregnant, and, you know, they just carried on doing like what they've done.
I don't know if there was a little bit of me that knew.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, that really intense conversation with someone about becoming a parent.
Yeah.
And not deliberately not doing a test before we went. Because if I'd have been at a wedding with all of my friends and I wasn't drinking and I wasn't smoking, everyone would have been like, what is going on?
Charlotte
you're pregnant. They would have been like, you're pregnant. You have to be pregnant.
Yeah.
Because that's the only reason.
Because they know you. They know like
they
how
know.
you're gonna...
Yeah, I mean, we went to a wedding a few months before that with one of our best friends, and I went to the bar and asked for Prosecco. They were like, we haven't got any. I said, you are joking. I went, that table alone, my table, will easily get through 20 bottles, so you need to do something about that. So for me to not be drinking or smoking, so I was quite glad. And then I think I went out a few weeks later, and it was, you know, Stoptober, and I just told everyone I was doing that because the year before I had a month where I hadn't drank, so I was able to just, like, I don't know, deflect what was going on, because I don't live in Birmingham either, and my friends don't see me that often. And then when you're here, and it was like winter, you can just be like hibernating, can't you? But yeah, I mean, for me, like, I've lived in London 12 years? 11? Yeah, that was a long time. Mm-hmm. I just felt like I was on holiday the whole time. So it's like now, when I had a baby and we would go to places, like baby things, it's like a parallel universe. It's like, oh, there's like the back of Clapham High Street, there's this big space, the children's centre. I mean, children's centres, I never knew they existed. Like millions of them around, all these children's centres doing all these great things. Mm-hmm. you know, and you just...
It's a whole new world.
See, it's like a total parallel universe.
Yeah.
I mean, I
really
haven't really been drunk in, since 2nd of October 2015. I haven't really been drunk. I haven't smoked a cigarette.
Really?
Yeah, I haven't smoked a cigarette. I was drunk. I went out with my friends when I was back in Birmingham, and my mum and my stepdad were looking after Amelia, and we were out. I was quite drunk. I was drunk then, and we were in this club, and
yeah, you told me about that, I think.
And these like young girls were like, they were definitely laughing at us. So we must have just looked like old pissed up women, like reliving our youth. And I got home and the light was on downstairs. I thought, oh no. And Amelia was up. And Amelia, I mean, she was like wide awake. So my mum just gave her to me and my mum went to bed. And Amelia was just awake on and off till like 5 a.m. I was like sitting in the bed and I couldn't co-sleep with her because I'd been drinking, obviously.
Yeah.
Like breastfeeding doesn't work anymore, getting her to sleep. So I was just thinking, what the hell am I supposed to do now?
Oh my God.
I was lying in bed thinking, this is actually a nightmare. This is a total nightmare. Just go to sleep, Amelia. Just go to sleep.
Oh man, that's the worst.
It was shit.
Well, you've been... I didn't realize it was that that difficult for you. You know, the breastfeeding. But the thing is, you know, I always meant it when every time I saw you when you would come in for Amelia's adjustment and your adjustment. And I always... there was nothing about what you looked like or what you were doing that made me think she's just like having it rough. I kept on thinking, you're doing a great job. All things considered, you know, as difficult as it is, you were coping.
It's just, I think it's a skill that I didn't realise that I had, where I think I can like project that I look like I'm doing all right. I remember like when I was going through like quite a rough patch and was just riddled with anxiety, like totally riddled with anxiety. And my colleagues at work would always if I'd say I was, you know, feeling shitty or like I was really worried, and like, I never knew that. I never knew that you felt like that. You know, you seem like really organised and you know what's going on. I was thinking, how the hell do I even manage to project that? Because it's like totally not what is going on at all.
You know, I mean, it definitely could be you, but I also think that that's a British thing. I see that, I get that sense because it's kind of like, you know, keep calm and carry on sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? Like, the culture is very much that British way. It's just keep calm and carry on, you know. It comes from...
And that's probably why we're big drinkers in England, because that's when we unleash it. Yeah. That's why we're such terrible drunks. That's why it's like total chaos when there's drunk British people, because, you know, we don't express our emotions. I mean, I come from a family of highly strong women, you know, so again, before I had Amelia and Sean and I were together, I just used to moan all the time. I used to just give him such a hard time all the time, like non-stop. It's like such a bitch. And then when we had Amelia, I thought, what did I used to moan about? You know, why did I have to complain about? I mean, don't get me wrong, we still, you know, we have, well, that's not, we makes it sound like it's a joint effort, but it's usually me. Sean's like a silent antagonist. Is that the right word? Yeah. And I'm like, you know, and I'll really, really blow up. And before, it used to really go on for days and days, because that's, you know, like I said, we came from this family where it was all, you know, big emotions and, you know, lots of emotional women. You know, you can't talk to me like that. Who do you think you are? Yeah. And now I'm just like, well, it's like I'll blow my top, and then 5 minutes later it's all right, which is good. Yeah. Because I can't, you know, you can't carry around all these emotions, all this, you know, like resentment and baggage. I don't want my child to sense any sort of, you know, animosity between her parents. Yeah. You know, I want her to know that we have we try and be honest with each other and that we don't try and pretend. But I also want her to see that, you know, we can make up and we can move on from those things. Like, I think once I was holding Amelia and, I don't know, I'd lost my temper about something. And Amelia just really started laughing. And so we all just started laughing and, you know, that was it. I couldn't even remember then afterwards what I'd been moaning about. But, yeah.
I mean, you just definitely step out of yourself when you become a parent, right? You do question, what the heck was I complaining about before?
Honestly, I mean, I'm sure Sean would say I still complain or still nag him as much as I ever did, but I just think, God, I used to give him such a hard time. Really, really hard time.
Well, you have, your self-awareness has shifted too, you know? Your perspective, self-awareness, and it's just what's not worth it anymore. You know, it's just not worth letting yourself get into those states of emotion over the stupidest shit, you know?
I can get very, very angry very, very quickly.
Yeah.
But it subsides quicker. Like before I got pregnant and I used to drink, not like, you know, like an alcoholic or problematic, but I'd have a drink and then things would just, you know, come out.
Yeah.
Just don't really have that anymore. And now, because if Sean and I have an evening out together, you know, it's a big deal. So I'm not going to get totally plastered and start being a dick. Well, I hope not, anyway. I really hope not.
Yeah. I think your personality is, like, super, like, from what I've seen and just what I sense, you're like, I think you're just super chill, and I think you're very what's the word I'm thinking of, like, you know, you're very open, like, you just very authentic, you know, you're just, you wear your heart on your sleeve, and,
that's true.
and you just you're very approachable, you know, like, there's not much, you just, even though you say, like, you hide some things or, you know, whatever, you don't reveal, like, truly what's going on, but I don't know, I get this, like, the raw trueness of you. I've always gotten that from you, you know.
I think as you get older, you cross paths with people, or you make connections with people that you're supposed to make connections with. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. For
so,
sure.
Like, my path crossing with you was obviously what was supposed to happen, you know, for, you know, not just because of getting chiropractic adjustments, just because that you were supposed to come into my life at that time. And I think, and as you get older, you don't just make connections with people just willy-nilly, because you just think, you come to appreciate that your time is, you know, not precious, because that sounds a bit like narcissistic, but you know, you've got so much going on, like, you know, you got 3 kids, your husband, your practice, this, the other stuff that you do, so you're gonna spend time with people that matter, I guess. Yeah, definitely. Or that, you know, that you don't think are a dick either, because why would you hang out with people that you thought were like...
Yeah, like, I like to hang out with people that are just dicks all the time.
Yeah, but, you know, there was probably a time when you did.
Yeah, for sure. Oh my God, that's definitely right.
Yeah, like, it's like that bit in Team America, isn't it, where he's talking about the pussies and the assholes and the dicks.
What? The Witch in America?
Team America, the film. Have you ever seen it?
Have
you never seen it?
I don't think I've seen it.
It's by the guys that did South Park.
Oh God. The pussies and the assholes.
The pussies and the assholes and the dicks, and about like pussies get fucked or something. It's really gruesome. And then when he's telling this character, the character's like really, really drunk. Yeah. And then the character just goes outside and he's just spewing and stuff. But it's true what he's saying.
Yeah.
But
it is.
If you live in big cities like New York, I mean, it's ace, but there'll be a lot of dicks there, right?
Yeah. Oh God. I mean, you've got. You know, there's there's more than 8 million people in New York City. You know, I mean, London's an enormous city. I mean, there's just, like, you're gonna see everything.
Yeah. But that's what happens when you drink as well. You hang out with dicks
Yeah,
more.
you do. Well, I mean, like...
And you think that they're brilliant.
Yeah.
And then you wake up the next day and think, oh my God.
You think they're brilliant, and then you wake up the next day, yeah. It's kind of like if you have like a one-night stand, and you're like, what was I thinking?
Slip out, don't tell anyone what's happened. I'll just erase it from my memory, and no one will know.
No,
yeah.
Nope, just me. And then you just try to forget it yourself.
Not that I've ever had one-night stands like that ever in my life.
Yeah, no, me neither,
no.
me neither.
No, definitely not, no.
Well, this is, I don't even know what time it is. Oh, great. It's 9:08. That's fine. This has been really good.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah. It goes by so fast, right?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was
just
fun.
talking about it and reliving it through talking about it. You know, I think that all women, when you ask, how was your birth? How was your pregnancy? You know, what happened? I think that it's such a great way when you're able to just tell it like it is and not hold back.
It's not really something that you can talk about, is it? You know, oh, so how was your day? How was your birth? What did you do? You know, but it's a really important thing for women to talk about.
Oh yeah.
I like talking to women about things like that.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, that's probably why I wanted to do this, you know, and it's just been really, really awesome because everyone that I've spoken to for the podcast has been so generous and so open with just sharing this very, very intimate, personal experience.
I think as well that women, when they reflect on it, that they should be like proud of themselves.
Oh, for sure.
I was saying this to like one of my best friends in Birmingham. She had a baby in January. She's hilarious. She was saying that she had to do a massive poo before she had the baby. Like it was stopping her from having the baby. Like the midwife whipped it away really quickly. Like her mum saw it, but her husband didn't, thankfully. But she gave birth. She didn't have I don't think she didn't have medication. She didn't have painkillers. She was just like, you know, it was easy. I not like in a both way, just in a stating it. You know, it was straightforward. It was easy. I just felt like it was like the right time to push. And you know, basically what she was saying was she listened to her body, and she like worked with the rhythm of her body, and you know, gave birth to her child, and she felt great afterwards. I think she was saying like, you know, she's a bit scared to look to see what's going on now, like with she's scared about having like some sort of cavernous vagina. But I was like, I'd had a few drinks. I was like, you're amazing, so empowering, that experience. You should share it with other women. She's thinking, oh, shut up, Charlotte, you hippie.
I love it. It's great. I mean, that's what it's all about. I think it's just like women need to discover that and own it, and you know, and it's all about. It's about the vagina and the vulva and getting that
just reclaiming it.
Yeah.
You know, your feminine, the seat of your feminine powers.
Yeah.
I saw another friend at the weekend and I was talking to her about that. I was like, she lives in Brighton and she was talking about, you know, some issues, and I was saying you need to find a women's circle. You need to go to this women's circle and you need to make friends with your vagina, and you know, not be scared of it and not see it as being something separate from you. You know, like it's like it's something you've got to like. You know, you can only let it out like once a week or something. Like it's some sort of rabid pet dog. You know, you just
pull out a mirror. Just women need to pull out a mirror and just look at it. Look at their vulva.
You should get bumper stickers. You should get, you know, like you've got those chiropractic signs. Chiropractic's not a life, not a, what does it say? It's a lifestyle.
Chiropractic isn't a treatment, it's a lifestyle.
You should have one that says, look at your vulva.
Yeah,
whip
out a mirror, look at your vulva.
I think, you know, you could probably sell it, you could make t-shirts with it on.
Yeah?
You could definitely sell that in Brixton. Or in Hoxton.
Yeah.
Look at your vulva, 100%.
Look at your vulva.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
And maybe you could have vulva in like the Volvo font or something.
That's awesome. Yeah, it'd be like, is that a typo?
Yeah.
so funny. That's a brilliant idea, Charlotte.
A guy at university once said to me...
You should do it.
A guy at university once said to me in a really stupid voice, he asked me if I had a vulva, and was really killing himself laughing like he'd made some massive joke. I just said, yeah, I have got a vulva, because it's part of the female reproductive system, so yeah, joke's on you. It's like, oh my god. Thankfully, all the other boys in the room knew what one was, so it was just him. I think he was like an acid casualty. So, yeah.
Well, thanks for coming over.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, this is really fun.
It's been good.
Yeah, it's really good. Thanks for listening, everybody. If you are pregnant and you're interested in pregnancy chiropractic care, visit my website, shiozawawellness.com. You can access that in the show notes. Also, if you are pregnant and your baby is breech, there are many chiropractors who are skilled in the Webster technique, which is what I do in my practice as well. It's a chiropractic technique that is specifically to help realign the spine and pelvis, to ease the tension and free up the space in the pelvis to allow for the uterus to relax. Often, because of the great results in the Webster technique, a baby in a breech or undesired position, such as a transverse position, will move into a more ideal head-down position for an optimal vaginal birth. Please visit icpa4kids.org to find a practitioner anywhere in the world. Please feel free to send me an email for more information, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. All the details will be in the show notes. Thanks again, and I'll see you next week.